Hey Switchheads, hope you're all well. Kanan here, welcome back and welcome to my review of A Tale of Synapse, the Chaos Theories. Is it me or are these names getting longer and longer by the week? Anywho, hit that like and subscribe button just before we get going so that you'll be kept up to date on all my latest content. And feel free to come and join us in the community Discord as well. And with that, let's take a look at what Tales of Synapse has to offer. Gameplay. Story-wise, well, after releasing a kind of genie in a book, only without the 3 wishes and the, Disney soundtrack, it's then up to you, Nero, and Sai, the kind of genie thing, to use mathematics and science to kind of put everything back together and where they were and should be. And this can be done alone or in local co-op. Dum dum dum. And lo, you control Nero, the character on the ground, and it has a kind of jump and double jump and a slashing attack. And basically this is the character that we're doing all the platforming and killing of creatures. And he even gets extra powers as you go on, like bow, that's actually used in solving puzzles and the like. And then there's Sai, and he's the floaty one that helps solve puzzles and lift shaped blocks around and places them where you, basically need them. And then there's his dimension shift, which is really useful because when you go into this other dimension, it kind of like gives you subtle clues and things that you need to solve these puzzles. Both characters can be upgraded on your travels using those white orbs you've seen me collect. And you can get these from just picking them up, destroying like crystal things, and also by killing lots of creatures. But do beware that if they hit you, you lose those orbs as well. And the upgrade tree, as you can plainly see, that rhymes, has quite a lot of different upgrades for both characters and weapons and things like that. There's even quite a decent compendium for everything that you encounter, like creatures and people that you meet, and also like the actual mathematical and scientific equations. The game is actually quite a great mix of puzzling and platforming. The story is fun, and I like the interactions with the NPCs as you go on. Although I have to admit that in handheld mode, the writing is hard to see and sometimes very tiny. Although I did like the way that in single player, I kind of got used to controlling both of the characters at the same time. It felt kind of cool, really. The puzzles generally range from easy to challenging, but in most cases, as long as you think about it and kind of use logic and the tools given to you, you'll most likely work them out eventually. It is with a heavy heart that I also say that sadly on some of the actual puzzles they can be solved by mistake and some by trial and error, which is kind of a shame really. I was trying to work out one puzzle and basically as I was going along with my thoughts, it solved itself even without me realising that that was the solution to it, which was a bit of shame because it kind of took something away from you in a way. The world itself is set up into 4 different areas, each with different but with the same type of goals, if that makes sense. Basically, platforming, defeating enemies and solving puzzles. And there's also ender level bosses, and these are kind of like defeated by solving puzzles as well. The game's got 48 levels and take you about 10 hours to complete. Of course, all depending on how long it takes you to do the puzzles and how well you get on with the platforming. Although I did discover that you don't need to actually complete every single puzzle in the levels. And it all kind of more or less works quite well, and I've had some fun with it. I've enjoyed the characters, I've enjoyed controlling the characters, talking to NPCs, and yet I'm imagining that in co-op it would actually be even better. There's plenty to do here and it kind of mixes up the types of gameplay quite well. The price of the game even seems quite fair for what you get here. Graphically, I do like the style. I like the difference in the realms when you're shifting. That's actually quite cool. I did find, however, that the camera would pan really far out in certain bits of the game, and that's fine if you're playing on a TV, but in handheld you struggle to kind of like see what's happening, and that's kind of the same thing with the writing. It's too tiny in places, and that's a bit of a shame because you're really squinting to see what's written in handheld mode. And I kind of primarily play all my games in handheld. I also had one time that I got stuck behind the scenery, which wasn't good, and I had to reset the level. And one other time where the writing was kind of off screen, and when I went to read it and move to the actual writing, it disappeared. Audio wise, well, it's kind of nice. It's very relaxing. The music in the background just goes and kind of like almost forgettable, but you know, you do hear it in the background. All the noises are kind of soft, but you know when you've hit something and all. Yeah, it's almost like you're underwater type thing. It just has this really nice feel to it. The good. Nice puzzles, fun gameplay, nice upgrades, and pretty cool mechanics. The bad. Zoom is kind of too small when it zooms out. The writing is too small in places. Puzzles can be too easy sometimes, and kind of like that trial and error, or just solves it when you weren't expecting it to, kind of like mars the experience ever so slightly. And so we reach the score. And as always, I rate games out of 5, and it's all down to my own personal judgments of the game. And also whether I thought the asking price was fair or not. And so let's see whether Tale of Synapse has done enough to get itself onto the Wall of Fame, or whether it's a shame on the Wall of Shame, or maybe somewhere in that middle bit. And I think for me, A Tale of Synapse is going to be getting a 4 out of 5, and I mean, this was kind of close to a 5 out of 5, but those little things and nigglings that I had kind of marred the experience a little bit. Not by a lot, but it stopped it getting that 5 out of 5 rating, and I kind of felt that was a bit of a shame as well. But it's still a pretty decent game and mixes a few decent genres together quite well. And as for my alternative, I'm going to suggest Child of Light. I've not played it, but I have heard good things about it. It is also kind of a side view platformer, I believe, and you can even play it in local co-op. What about that, eh? Although if you've got a better alternative, leave it down in the comments. In fact, if you've got anything you want to say about A Tale of Synapse, leave it down in the comments. That's where they belong. And why not, if you've made it this far especially, hit that like and subscribe button to be kept up to date with all my latest content. And also think about joining the community Discord. Come for the gaming, stay for the chat, we're a friendly bunch, because life is better when we switch together.